Hey folks, Rob Squire here from Rocky Ridge Farm. We wanted to give you an update on our mobile chicken houses. A lot of you saw our first video we made when we first got them, kind of introduced the concept back during the winter time. Now we've put, this is our fifth batch through these, and we've kind of gotten a sense for how to use it and wanted to give you kind of an update. Overall, we are thrilled with this system. They're amazing. It's such an improvement over what we were doing before. So last year, for the last 3 years, we've been raising birds out with the Joel Salatin style chicken tractors that were moving by hand, about 75 birds to a pen. And we made the decision last year to switch, to make the investment into these mobile chicken coops. They're about $15,000 a piece, assembled like you see them here. But I can break down for you why we think that investment was worth it and why we're absolutely thrilled with them. So I'd cover this as three main benefits: efficiency, mortality, and consistency of our birds. So first of all, our efficiency to handle this many birds has completely changed the game here. So when we were doing 75 birds to a pen to handle, we've got over 500 birds out here right now between our two pens. To handle that many, we needed, what do we do, 75 birds a pen, so 6 or 7 chicken tractors. To move them, we had to do feed and water in the morning and night. We moved them once a day until the very end, then we moved them twice a day for about the last week or so because they were putting down so much manure. So we figured that was taking us about an hour and a half a day for that many birds. So morning and night combined, we're going out twice a day, moving birds, and making sure they're done. Now with everything, to move both pens, we come out here, it takes maybe 10 minutes, and then we have to bring out water every other day, and feed is about every 4th or 5th day depending on how big they are. So overall it took our time from about 8 to 10 hours a week of labor taking care of those birds, has taken that down to about 2. And so our daily workload is far lighter than it used to be. So the second reason we really love these shelters is that our mortality is way down. There's been a couple different aspects to this. Number one, we haven't lost a single bird to predators. We have some problems sometimes around here with raccoons, foxes. Generally they didn't get into our pens, our Salatin style pens, but on occasion they would get under an edge, they'd get a leg, they'd rip off a wing, and we'd end up losing that bird. So in here we haven't lost a single one to a predator. No predator damage, no predator harm, and we've been doing this now for 3 months during the summer. So no predator issues. Our just overall health of the birds is better in here. That was an unexpected surprise. I thought it would be about the same, but just our daily mortality, sometimes we'd come out, there'd be a bird dead here and there in our pens, but overall our mortality percentage has gone down, I'd say 3 to 4% across these birds. It wasn't high to begin with, but it's definitely down from what it was. And the last one that was kind of unexpected was that we're not having the leg problems that we had with our Salatin style pens. These Cornish cross birds are known for having leg problems as they get later in their life cycle. Basically, they're eating more feed than their skeletal system can support. Anyway, so we had some leg problems when those birds would get later into their life cycle. They'd go off their feed, and then they'd be down within 2 or 3 days. In our worst section, we were losing almost 10%. We fixed that by going to a custom feed mix that solved our leg problems, but it was almost 20 to 25% more of our more cost for our feed. So on a whim, we went back to our standard ration from our feed mill here that's quite a bit cheaper when we introduced these, and we haven't lost a single bird to leg problems. I think the main difference is these birds are never out from under shelter. They're always under roof, and so this environment stays a little drier, even in wet conditions that we get sometimes here. It's been kind of a wet summer. We have not had any of those feet and leg issues that we've had in the past. So that reduced our feed costs because we were able to go back to that cheaper ration. So the last area we've really seen a lot of improvement is the overall consistency of our birds. This was kind of another unexpected benefit, but I really attribute that to the consistency of their environment. So again, they're never out from under roof. They're always have consistent access to feed. There's never any of these kind of highs and lows if we're bringing out feed where it's full or then it's empty, or sometimes it runs out, you know, an hour or two before feeding. There's always consistent feed. There's always consistent water. There's more access because there's more feeders, more waterers. And what we've seen is just our bird size is very uniform, and our overall health is a lot better than it was in the past. And the other thing, they're a lot cleaner, which I, again, was surprised, but these birds stay a lot cleaner than they did in our Salatin pens, even moving them twice a day. They're still putting down a lot of manure, for sure. We have very good coverage back here, as you can see. But all in all, it's a much cleaner product. The birds are much healthier, and our overall consistency in our sizes and overall health of the birds is far improved over what we did last year.
So just a few other notes to close this out. One other benefit that we found that we didn't expect was that it was way easier to catch and crate these birds when it came to processing day. We found that we could load all 250 to 275 birds into the crates and into the trailer. It took us about 20 minutes. And it was way easier than crawling in under those Salatin pens. And by the time all was said and done, we were actually getting it done faster in this than we were doing with just 75 to 150 birds in those pens. Other than the initial purchase cost of these range coops, there's really no downside to them that we can see. Now, we did have to change some things around with our infrastructure and how our systems worked using these range coops. The biggest one was that we intended initially to use our large ATV to move these, but we found out it was just not big enough. It wasn't heavy enough to move them. So we went through a couple of iterations of what we were using day to day to move them. We really didn't want to use a tractor every day just because of compaction and having to bring that out. But we ended up getting a Polaris side-by-side this year, kind of a medium-sized one, Ranger 700, and that did the job just fine. It was on the light end still, and if we were on slippery ground, sometimes we had to get the tractor, but 90% of the time, that did the job just fine. The other thing we've gone through a couple iterations on is how we're managing the feed and water, bringing that back and forth a couple days a week. So water, we found we had to do it every other day. We have a 300-gallon water trailer that would cover 4 fill-ups, essentially. I have a different video on that if you want to take a look and check that out. And then the feeding, we started out with, we had a small grain cart, an auger cart that we were using. And we had some issues with that was just, we got a cheap piece of equipment that had some issues. So what we're doing now is bringing that feed out with the tractor, just kind of on an IBC tote that I cut in half, and shoveling that into the feed bins. So that's actually worked out better because I'm only making one trip. I put it on the front of the forks of the tractor when I bring out the water, and that solves the problem. And the last piece of this is, was it worth it? And to us, it was really a no-brainer. When we ran the numbers on it, paying ourselves for our time, it was almost exactly a wash of what we were paying to pay for these range coops on a standard new equipment amortization. It was almost a dead wash with what we would have to pay ourselves for our time and what we were getting back in time saved. So we're excited about it. To us, this was a no-brainer, and we're excited. We're looking at possibly adding a third next year and seeing if we continue to grow it. So thanks for your time. Hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Be happy to respond.